Maiden, mother, master on a mission. 3-in-1 playing my position. Bypassed queen a long time ago. Spiritual gangster, I was born woke. Born woke, born woke. Spiritual gangster, I was born woke. Born woke, hey, born woke. Spiritual gangster, born woke. Greetings, my lovelies. This is Maiden, Mother, Master, and the men who love them. I am DeAnna Dawn, and this is actually the first episode. Episode 1 of my podcast. I have been gently nudged by the people in my life to do a podcast to talk about this crazy, wacky, spiritual stuff you're on. DeAnna, there's some people out there that want to hear it, because we don't. Basically, that's what I get from my friends and loved ones, except maybe one or two exceptions there who I can really go there with spiritually. But most people want to kind of keep it on the surface level, what's going on in life and, work and fun and parties and gigs and such. I, however, am a deep diver, and I go into the infinite waters of spirit, the depths of life, the mystical, the magical, what I consider the true foundation of life. I mean, I feel that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. It's like being on stage, and we're here to play our parts and do our roles and do them well. And then we go backstage and then we go home. Or not. I think that's an option, but that's probably for another day. But it's pertinent today because this is my Daddyversary. 10 years ago today, my beloved dad left the temple. The temple of his flesh. He left the body, and it was 12 days after my birthday, and it was like I'd lost my best friend and someone stole my bike all at once. Because he was my rock, and he, in the human realm, he was the only person who I could consider a complete and total supporter of everything that I did, every idea I had, every endeavor, every single creative cuckoo concept. My dad was right there, and he was my cheerleader, and he was the only one. And so I really felt that. I felt very lost and lonely and very alone initially, but because he was a spiritual man, and because I'm a spiritual woman, we were in immediate contact. And the story is interesting because when I got the call that he had a heart attack, I was in a grocery store, and I just ran out and got in my car, left the buggy, just ran to my car and got in, drove over. Fortunately, I was close to the hospital. That was ironic because I hardly ever shop in that particular area. But I got there within minutes. And when I got there, my stepmom was, of course, hysterical. And I was talking to my dad all the while. As I was driving there, I was like, you better not leave the planet. You better not go anywhere. I need to see you. I need you there. I need you here. I need you to stay here. And when I got to the hospital, he was in a room in ICU, and they had him, they had revived him. His heart was beating on its own. And I continued my conversation with him because at this time he was talking back. Now that's another story. I definitely talk to the people on the other side, as I feel we all can if we open ourselves up to that. But that's another story for another day. Again, since my dad and I were both spiritual, we both knew that life continues. And so we just were in conversation. And it was all mental for me. No one saw me talking to him. And of course, he was in ICU, quote unquote, unconscious. So no one saw him talking to me, but we were having a lively debate. And the debate was, I need you here. And he was saying to me, no, I've seen the other side and I'm going there. And I said, I realize you probably have a choice in this matter because you are amazing and you've done great things in your life and you've probably completed your purpose as this person, but I need you here. I realize you're probably wanting to escape any, money woes or the discomfort of just living day to day that can happen. But I need you here. I was making him all these promises. Oh, I'll go out. I'll give, everything my all. And I'll make sure that I can become a millionaire really fast. And whatever you need, I can retire you and just give me a couple of years and I'll make that my number one mission. And he was like, no, I've seen the other side. I'm going to stay over here. I need you to deal with it. I was not ready to deal. I was in no way ready to deal. So we went back and forth for about an hour. And then at the exact moment that I said within myself to him, okay, I think I can cope. I think I can maybe make it on this earth without you. I think I can. In that moment, I heard code, and all of the nurses and doctors started running into the ICU where he was. So I knew that was him, and I knew he had left his body. And then I started calling him back. I was like, no. I didn't mean that. No. I take that back. I can't do it. I cannot live on this earth without you. You have to stay here with me. And so this is while the nurses and the doctors are working on him. And then this wonderful woman walked up to me and said, is that your loved one in there right now that just had a cold? I said, yes. She said, do you need me to pray with you? I said, please pray with me. So we prayed together, and I was pleading in my prayer silently for him to come back. And sure enough, a few moments later, they were able to revive him. Now, I found that out as they walked out because they still had not let me into the room. So he was back, and we were back with our lively debate. And by now it's maybe 10 o'clock at night, and we're going back and forth till about 3 a.m. And I went to the chapel. I talked to him in there. I was having this ongoing conversation with him. I told my stepmom about it. She's a skeptic, so she was like, "Oh yeah, right." And but we were going back and forth, and he didn't want to leave me feeling like I couldn't live without him. That was really the bottom line. So I had to find a way to muster the strength to see my life without him in it and see myself continuing on this journey in the flesh without him here to call and to ask for advice and to get counseling from. And that was hard for me. But finally, around 3:30, they told us he had been moved to a room, and he was basically stable, and we could come in and see him. And so we did, and my stepmom was there initially, and then she left, and I came in, and he and I are still debating in the ether. We're still having the back and forth. And I took his hand, and he said, the same thing he had been saying all evening and night. You have to let me go. I want to be over here. And I said, okay, I can release you. And in that exact moment, he squeezed my hand. He took a breath, and then he coded. His heart stopped. They ran in. They sent me out. But I knew this time he wouldn't be back because he had decided to stay over there. It's hard for me to even talk about now because I remember that moment so vividly. His hand in mine, and just seeing him lift with that final breath and release it was truly profound. I miss him in the flesh, but I talk to him all the time on the other side. He comes in dreams, and recently we've had a new baby in the family, and that baby, as a 1-year-old, walked past a picture of him, pointed to it, pointed to himself, and said, me. Now that's a whole different rabbit hole, because the baby said it to probably the biggest skeptic in our family right now, who also happens to be the baby's father. And I usually kind of quiz 3-year-olds because they have enough vocabulary and enough remembrance of the other side to really, really go in with them. I'm like, well, when you were a grown-up, who were you? And some of my relatives have said, oh, I was a soldier, I fought in the war, and I had a gun, and this happened and that happened. Or, they tell me who they were in previous lives. I'm a believer in reincarnation because I've just done so much research and read so many books over the years about it that, I couldn't be convinced otherwise at this point. Although I realize that many people, don't see the world that way, and that's fine. But if you have a 3-year-old in your realm, by all means, sit that 3-year-old down and say, do you remember a time when you were big? Or when you were a grown-up like me? And just see what they say. It will fascinate you. It's very, very fascinating. So I believe Daddy's back. And because the soul is so vast, there's a part of him that's on the other side that can still talk to me as Daddy. And there's a part of him that has reincarnated as this beautiful little child in our family who is pointing to pictures of him and saying me. I can't wait till he's 3. 2 more years. Well, really 1 more year. He just turned 2. So how big is the spirit anyway? How many of us can it inhabit at once? I don't know. These are questions for another day. So Mother, Maiden, Master, Maiden, Mother, Master. That's the name of this podcast. And I started it because I looked out in the vast podcast universe, and I was looking for something like this that was spiritual, metaphysical, but also kind of down home and with people who are finding their way. I listen to podcasts religiously. My favorite ones right now, Mark Maron, of course. He's a beast. He's the master. Love him. Read This, Read That. Joyanne Reed and Jackie Reed. Both are amazing. They're funny and they're like girlfriends. And I get my little cocktail and I drink it along with them as I listen to the podcast and have a really good time with that one. There are some others. Those are my 2 favorites. But I really did an active search for something that was like this. And I couldn't find it. So that meant to me that I needed to create it. And so that's what this is. And I hope that there are some people out there who think like me, wacky moms who are metaphysical and who may or may not be maidens, but are mistaken for maidens quite frequently. Definitely mothers, because that's a big part of my life and who I am. And journeying to be masters. In the religion of Wicca, there's maiden, mother, crone. Ew. Who wants to ever be a crone? Not me. That's not where I'm growing to. That's not where I'm going. And I don't hold that vision at all. As a matter of fact, there's this great book. I'm going to recommend it here. It's called Breaking the Death Habit. It's by Leonard Orr, O-R-R. And it's a book where this gentleman set out on a mission to find humans who had been in the flesh, in their same body, for 300 or more years. Okay. 300 or more years. Now, you're not going to find these people on YouTube. They're not going to come on and say, hey, I've been in the body 300 years and I still look 19. That's not going to happen. They are way too busy balancing the planet, going to the Himalayas or Mount Shasta or wherever they hanging out with other immortals, I'm sure. In the book, though, he talks about how society has given us a habit of believing that there's one inevitability, and that is to leave the body through death. Historically, there are several accounts. If you believe in the Bible, there's some there. If you believe in folklore, there's some there. Where people stayed in the body until they either decided to leave with consciousness or they transformed the body into something else. And I can speak of Enoch, Elijah in the Bible, Melchizedek in the Bible, more modern, Paramahansa Yogananda. He wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi, amazing book, changed my life. And he just decided one day, okay, this is the day I'm going to leave my body. I'm going to go here into my room. I'm going to go into meditation and I'm going to leave. And he had a big party. He, kissed his disciples goodbye, and he left his body and did not come back to it. And what's really remarkable is that the body did not decompose. And, these are documented historical facts from the more modern era because he lived in the 20th century. So with those things in mind, I wrote a little book of my own called Eternal Youth, Eternal Life. It's available right now just as an ebook, but it's all about how we can really restructure our thinking about our lives in these bodies. I'm not going to go into the book in detail here on this first podcast because that's not what the podcast is about. If you want to know more about the book, you can go to my website, DeAnnaDawn.com. There's a link there. You can find out more. You can read the book. It's quick read, 99 pages, simple, la-di-da. The podcast is really about women and the men who love us. The stages of growth that we experience, and those stages being lived to the highest level that we possibly can. If you're a maiden, be the most bomb-ass maiden you can possibly be. If you're a mother, be the dopest, multitasking-ass mother you can possibly be. And if you're a master, keep expanding, keep teaching the rest of us, keep growing, keep evolving so that we have a path to follow. And then the men who love us. I will be doing interviews. This show probably won't include one, mainly because I just want an introductory piece out there. But when I do interviews, they will include maidens, because I know some amazing teeny bops who are like 13, 14, but like these monsters in everything that they touch. So there will be some of those. I know some incredible mothers who are just profound and inspire me daily. So I will be interviewing some of those. And I know some masters who have mastered the realm that they find themselves in, and I will be interviewing them. And I will also be interviewing men, because you men out there, I know you love us. You've got a maiden, a mother, or a master in your life that you love and adore. And if you don't, then there's some healing that needs to take place. And we can go there. We can talk about that. So, to know a little bit more about me, I don't really like talking about myself like that, but my history, my background is in music and film. And you can go again to the website, DeAnnaDawn.com, and you can find out all things me. And that is that. This episode is sponsored by Tassili's Raw Reality, the most amazing raw vegan food, in my opinion, the world has to offer. It just happens to be located in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're traveling here, if you live here, if you're passing through, if you're making a movie here, Tassili's Raw Reality is where you want to be. Take it from me. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.